Hey, Patrick, yesterday at Twin Cities Orthopedic Performance Center, two high-profile, prominent, elite Minnesota sports figures made their return to the practice field. Danielle Hunter and Phil Mackey. Very excited.
Good. That's good. Danielle wants to be here for life. So that's
Well,
very good PR,
for a price,
Danielle.
yeah.
That's a very good thing to say. He's got somebody whispered in his ear who's pretty smart, saying, "Oh yeah, this is just the start. You want to prove yourself and be great, and have them give you $140 million." So we'll see what happens there. But hey, they got him, so that's what counts, right? They cannot, however, they got to let him be, if he wants to. They got to let him become a free agent, right?
Can't franchise him.
Yes. They can't franchise him. So
Yep.
Who's his agent? Who's he used? Do you know?
Not a high profile guy.
No, it's a guy named Zeke, and I forget his last name, but he joined Rock Nation. So Rock Nation
really?
put him on their roster. So he's not a high profile name, but his agency now is high profile.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You know what? As good as that guy's been, Hunter, we don't know a lot about him, do we? I mean, it's personality wise and stuff like that. There hasn't. He's
a low key, definitely kind of a private,
low profile guy. But what a draft choice for our guy Rick. He missed on a lot of guys, but this was kind of the sneaky Rick that worked out when he went for the great athlete. Go for the great athlete and hope he turns into what you want him to be. And that's in this case way more than that. Didn't he sit like half of his first year at least? Didn't he not play much his first year?
A ton. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of a John Randall type story. John Randall was. I heard somebody was telling the John Randall story again the other day about how Denny O'Dungy was on, and how Denny came in and said, "I think this guy belongs inside," because he was a backup. He wasn't supposed to make the club, and he was a backup defensive end, linebacker type, and Denny said, "I think we got to put him inside," and it was a pretty good decision Denny made there. About the only time he's ever right on defense. He was a very good offensive assessor, but he missed on a lot of defensive guys.
It is incredible. So we did like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago during our how do we get through July phase of Purple Daily, and we were going through doing like all-time Vikings drafts and different things, and when you start to look at the defensive line list of players, go back Purple People Eaters, and then you get into like the Keith Millards, and then into the John Randalls, and Dolman, and all these guys in the last 10 or 15 years. It's a pretty incredible list.
I've said, wide receivers is like a very a grand position for this franchise through its all history, going back to Paul Flatley, for goodness sakes. But there's a lot of those, but the number one position in this franchise team's history is defensive line. It's from the even from the beginning, Paul Dixon and guys like that. But of course the Purple People Eaters, and then everybody who came after them. But they've now they had a few screw ups, and I don't blame Denny for this one. But Denny might have won himself a Super Bowl if they'd let him draft Warren Sapp like he wanted to. But I think it was marijuana, right? Back then, we were worried that he flunked the marijuana test at the combine. So we're going to take, what's his name? The mediocre. Derek Alexander, who was, not a bad guy, but he wasn't Warren Sapp. But if they would have had Warren Sapp through the 90s, that would have been pretty good. So, and that's Hedrick was running the team. I think Lynn would have said, "Sure, go ahead, draft him. We don't care." But Roger was, we can't have a guy who smokes a joint being the best defensive tackle in the history of man on this team. So unbelievable.
Pat, didn't the report come out on Sapp? I think it came out in the New York Times on the Saturday of the draft too. So teams were like, "Whoa, we're going to have to pass on this guy now." It was one of those things.
Yeah. The question now is, if you're with the Vikings, can you smoke pot on the sidelines during the breaks? That's what I want to know.
Wait, isn't it as of today? Probably yes.
Yes,
right?
it's legal. Yeah, you can have one. You can.
But the cities are passing rules against it, right? So I think
in public.
So I think you could get high on the sideline at US Bank Stadium, but Egan, I think, is going to outlaw it, so you cannot get high on the sideline at TCO.
Yeah, you can. City parks. They're not going to let you smoke pot in city parks. What's the sense in making it legal if you can't go down and walk, take a walk around the park and go sit at a picnic table and
get high,
soak one? What the hell? Let's go here. Come on.
Dude. It is crazy how, and I get it's just kind of how, society has operated for 100 years, but we've been, and I've never been like a huge weed guy in my life, but the fact that we've been wringing our hands over it for all these years, and yet you can go get a bottle of vodka and drown yourself, and no one will ask questions.
You can be laying under that picnic table with a bottle in your.
Oh, he's just a little buzzed, Don't
he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we so it's it's been a historically fantastic position. Speaking of which, and Judd and I talked about this a little, we still can't get Jim Marshall to make the semifinals even for the Hall of Fame. I don't get it. I really don't.
Have they just decided that there's already two guys from that line that are
but there were three of them. Now Gary Larson and Doug Sutherland, were alternated as the other tackle, but Jim Marshall was Page, Eller, and Marshall, and Marshall should be in there. And I'm not saying that just because I like the guy, but it's it's going to be too late pretty soon. Yeah. So for him to enjoy it.
Pat Declan has done some great sleuthing here. So the SKOR North Facebook account, it used to be the 1500 ESPN Facebook account, and they they'll just give you like on this day memories from different times in the past. And he found this one yesterday. On this day 10 years ago, the Reusse and Mackey radio show, we used to put the cram session questions on Facebook so the audience could participate.
Yes, right.
And the first question from 10 years ago today on the Reusse and Mackey show was, does Christian Ponder's performance in Mankato mean anything significant as to how he's going to play this year?
And I wonder what the answer was. So was that way? He wasn't a rookie 10 years ago, was he?
No, he was going into his third year. Third
year. Okay. Well, we don't, we act like we turned on him immediately, but we didn't. We still had hopes for him. I remember my granddaughter being 6 years old, having a Ponder jersey, still, and, he was still going to be our hope. It's too bad. He seemed like a nice fella, but all the flaws that people said when they drafted him were, he kind of, to me, he always had the problem of throwing the ball where the receiver was instead of where he was going, right? Yeah, he was late. And that, to me, that's probably the biggest talent there is for being a quarterback. I don't know, he was an athlete and all that, and nice guy, and he ran off and got married one weekend with right in the middle of the season. He needed somebody to, by then we'd turned on him, and he needed somebody to tell him he was a good guy. So what's he doing? Anybody know what happened to him?
So he started, it's kind of this weird, vague business. He started a business that connects former athletes that it's like a networking business. So he puts together outings where, 20, 30, 40 former athletes can get together and network with each other. I don't know how it makes money, but he launched it last year. It's all over his Instagram, and Sam Ponder obviously is promoting it and stuff. So I don't know what the business model is, but he's doing something.
Big picture here. It's an interesting occupation, being a quarterback, but being a sports figure in general, isn't it? When you think, okay, we get bad mouthed as media members, and politicians get bad mouthed. But what other occupation is there where the entire town can hate you all of a sudden? You can be the nicest guy that ever lived, walking down the street, and we hate you. You stink. It's a it's funny that more of these guys don't have to take mental breaks, isn't it?
Well, Ponder and Cousins are both like pretty good examples of, if you just kind of ran into those guys at a backyard gathering and they weren't football players, that Kirk guy was pretty nice guy, that Christian guy was a nice guy. But the minute they start making 10, 20, $30 million as the quarterback of your team, it's like,
yeah. And the only equivalent probably is, to the quarterback is the closer in baseball, where I hate you.
Ron Davis to this day.
Ron Davis, yes, you throw that name out there. Tony Gordette Oliva's aunt went after him with an umbrella at her porch in South Dakota when they were making the winter caravan. Ron Davis, she went, 85-year-old woman gonna hit him. Then he ended up getting her All-Star game tickets. So he was good guy. He was a goofy guy, but he was a good guy. But we all go, Ron Davis. We use that as another guy is like Les Steckel. Les Steckel is a joke, right?
Yeah.
Nice guy, religious guy,
you had a good
motivational speaker, right? But you say Les Steckel when you want to demean somebody, you say Les Steckel. So it's an interesting occupation, sports, that's for sure.
Yeah, wasn't he the coordinator for the Tennessee?
Yes.
Yeah, the Super Bowl team, right?
Went to the Super Bowl team,
yeah. 99 Tennessee Titans.
That was, in fact, I was on the field after they won that playoff game. Had to look up Les had to get a couple of quotes from Les, and he gave me a couple of quotes despite the vile stuff I wrote about him. Not only when he was here, but after he left.
What a season that was too. The Les Steckel season was one of the worst in the major men's professional sports history of this state.
You know why? Because they were all bailing on him at the end. If they had a toenail, if they had a hangnail, they were bailing on him. By the end, he had this was pre-MRI when guys just played, And he must have had 17 guys on the injured list at the end with minor injuries. Nobody wanted to play anymore. So it was, but, his name gets mentioned now damn near 40 years later. Les Steckel.
Hey, here's another one going down the cram session memory lane here. 11 years ago on this day, the third question of the day was, where does Murray's garlic toast rank among famous Twin Cities restaurant sides?
It's I can only stop there about 6 or 7 times a year because otherwise you now can buy the box of 20, right, for some, and you go 7 at night and then you eat them for breakfast the next morning. Garlic toast for breakfast, man. That ain't healthy, but
it's a great way to start your day.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're addictive,
so good.
Man. They're still so good.
You know what I had the other night, and I'll never forget the first time I had these, and I'll tell that story. But my wife and I went to Monte Carlo the other night for some of those dry rub wings.
I had those about a month ago. They're fantastic.
I remember one of our first ever Reusse and Mackey shows. We were doing, it was like 2010. Target Field was new, and we were doing one of those live broadcasts on the plaza, before a game. And I can't remember. It was like right before the show or something. I think you or Reusse asked, are you guys hungry? Should we order some lunch? And you put in a phone call, and a white van from Monte Carlo showed up with like 3 catering trays of the dry rub wings. And the ways we couldn't eat them all because there's 4 of us, but Twins fans were walking by and we're just handing them dry rub wings from Monte Carlo.
It was, yes, those were the days when we were the official station of. Boy, it would be interesting if we were. The one thing is when we were in the official station with the Twins, we didn't bally it up much.
They never said anything about it.
They never said anything. No, 2011. I mean, we were still a station when they went 19-50 in this season, right?
Yeah.
19-50.
But we did have a 2-month stretch where we sold It's Happening t-shirts, and I think
it's happening.
And then at the end they were like, well, they tried. They sold some t-shirts and we crapped ourselves. So.
you knew you were in trouble when Petey Hernandez wasn't Petey starting by then at the end of that year? Didn't he make like 6 starts, and the next year he's pitching for the Saints? So that was
when Scott Diamond was your ace the following year, you knew you were probably in some trouble.
Yes. Hey, I feel bad I didn't stay up and watch that U.S. women's soccer match last night. 0-0 with Portugal.
3 a.m.,
but
right?
We advanced, so we're very happy. We advanced.
Oh, the
0-0.
So Carly, they got Carly Lloyd on the post game, and she's like New Jersey. She just rips this team. So they get done with this draw, right? They kind of backdoor their way into the elimination rounds. And Carly Lloyd was incensed. So they're showing the players kind of smiling and dancing because they made it through. And she was like, "This is despicable. Why are you smiling?"
Really good.
I like that. I like Carly Lloyd.
Yeah, I saw one headline that says, "U.S. women lose 0-0." It was apparently a terrible display. But yeah, in other words, never going to make it at BSN. Charlie?
No, probably not.
But that is Fox, though, isn't it? At Fox?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're big on soccer. So maybe they're just resting up, getting ready for the big season here. So
yeah, this girl reading some more of her quotes. She said that it was uninspiring and that the U.S. women's team is spiraling on the world stage.
Oh, really?
Time to fire the
guy. Yeah, we need Justin Morneau to read some of these.
Time to fire the coach then.
You know what? I was just jotting these down during the break here between the podcast with Roscoe and you guys. You know what's amazing about this baseball season? The Twins. We're disappointed in the Twins, right? We're about 10th on that meter, aren't we? Of the number of teams that we're going to be good that have flopped this year is amazing. This baseball has got its. Baseball has finally got its parity to some degree. Yep. I mean, you still have terrible teams, but the over and under opening day on the Cincinnati Reds was, where the heck is it? Like 65 and a half. 65 and a half. They're going to win 95. Right. The O's now, they had gotten a little bit on the O's. The O's were 77. But the headline on the Odd Sharks was "Fade the Rays, back the M's." Was their headline on the one-loss opening season. It's been a very interesting season in that way, because the Yankees, I mean, they're 10-15 in July, can't score a run. Yeah. Booing the hell out of Stanton last night, and Michael Kay. I was listening for a minute, and in the 8th inning, Hader hits the ball to third base. There's one on. They haven't scored. And Hader says, and there's the third out as Hader jogs. Not Hader. What's his name?
Bader. Harrison Bader.
Bader. And third out there as Bader jogs to first base on a ground ball. So,
hey, Cleveland traded its ace yesterday.
Yes,
Cleveland's like, how could the Twins get swept by Kansas City? What can we do not to win this division?
We don't care. We don't care, Twins. We don't want to go. We don't want to send this collection to the play.
Good for you.
We don't want to go. Their best pitcher. And for a injured minor leaguer.
First baseman.
He's supposed to be a tremendous hitting prospect. No, they're just giving up. They don't want to win. So
on the Orioles, did you see the last time the Orioles had sole possession of first place in the American League was in August was 1997?
Really?
Wow.
1997, the last time they've been this good.
By that.
It's they're supposed to have a bunch of them coming up too. And you have prospects all, hopefully they don't get real stupid here and trade. You know what makes a difference? They got the best catcher in the world. This guy's great. He's he's switch hitter. Terry Ryan told me when he was going to the draft, he says he's Mauer. He's Mauer, but he's a switch hitter. And he is. So Judd wants to move him already. We were talking about.
I'd move him. I'd move him to right field or first base real quick.
I give him 8 years and then I'll move him. So anyway, that makes a difference having a great catcher, and he is that. He and Larnick, were big teammates at the at that Oregon State team that won this national championship. So
yeah.
Anyway,
well, we'll see what they do in a few hours here. We didn't want to do a whole lot of Twins trade talk because it's going to be outdated if they do something, but we'll react to it with you later this week, Pat.
All right, gentlemen. We will see you later.
All right, sounds good. Reusse Unchained, presented by Power Lodge and Miller Marine. So how about this? 25. Look at this. Power Lodge hit a major milestone. They've been around almost as long as it's been since the Orioles last were in first place in the American League in August. 25 years of bringing action and excitement to Minnesota as your go-to destination for all things marine and power sports. And they're celebrating with a fun 25th anniversary celebration at all of their local Power Lodge locations. Brainerd, Ramsey, Onamia, Sauk Rapids. They're rolling out the red carpet. Go to powerlodge.com to find out more information about the 25 days of deals. Powerlodge.com. See you guys.